public hearing is now called to order at 5 minutes past here on Tuesday, November 10th of 2020. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was posted in the town hall. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. And let's go back to our agenda here. So first bit of business, minutes for approval from October 13th of 2020. I had no suggested changes. I don't know if anybody else does. If not, I'll accept a motion to accept as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Heidi. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Paul. Any further discussion? All in favor, I'll go person by person based on the way you appear on my screen. Ryan, is that a yes from you?
That's a yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Everett?
Abstain.
Okay. Paul?
Yes.
I'm guessing that last 9980200 is a town hall phone number, so I won't call on that person. That passes as presented. Thank you. Meeting mail, Merrily, any meeting mail?
No, nothing except that 404 thing that I sent you earlier.
Okay. I see nothing for old business or new business. So we're going to move to a COC for Charles Leonard, 766 Main Street. A certificate of compliance was filed by Charles Leonard for property located at 766 Main Street, map 8, lots 10 and 12, parcel B. The applicant proposed to construct a 16-foot wide driveway and a single-family dwelling within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. We did a site visit out here on Saturday and everything seemed to be in order. Agent Kelly, any comments or any of the feedback from you on this project? You're on mute. You're on mute, Merrily, so if you have feedback, we can't hear you. Thank you.
It looks finished to me. I didn't see any reason to hold up the COC.
All right. So with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 766 Main Street.
I make the motion that we give a COC for this address.
We have a second.
Well, second.
From Ryan, any further discussion? Okay, in that case, I will go to a vote. Ryan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Heidi?
Yes.
Everett?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes, with the confidence of the commission, as I was not there.
Yep, and I will vote yes as well. That's unanimous. Okay. Wrong thing. Here we go. Next item, we have an RDA for David Figueredo, 12 Wood Duck Road. A request for determination was filed by David Figueredo for property located at 12 Wood Duck Road, map 1, lot 27C. The applicant proposes to construct an enclosed room under the existing raised deck with a shed in the same area. Agent Kelly, would you like to say anything about this project?
It had already been started, but it looked pretty simple. It was, it didn't change the footprint of the house at all.
Exactly.
So-
Yeah, there wasn't anything out of order, out of bounds, or anything else about the project as far as I could see.
Yeah,
Just a
no, it didn't look like it would affect the wetland in any way.
No, it's just a matter of paperwork. That way, I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I'll entertain a motion to issue a negative determination on this project.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Heidi. Do we have any further discussion?
No.
I will take this to a vote. Ryan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay. Heidi?
Yes.
Everett?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes, once again, with the confidence of the commission, this seems like a very simple request for determination.
Exactly. And it's a yes from me as well for a negative determination. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda. We have one that's on here, one that is not, and I'm going to read mine first, and then I'm going to go to the wetlands bylaw. Actually, we have two other things in hunting and conservation land. So I think everybody in town might have received this letter from our director of the DPW, Dan Menard. This is dated September 30th, but I want to read it anyway, just because this is a matter of saving money and doing the right thing and paying attention to detail. So to all Acushnet residents, this year a comprehensive recycling contamination audit was completed in the town of Acushnet by Waste Management. The following are the results we received. 1, the town's comprehensive recycling contamination audit reveals an 18.2% contamination rate, the high of 32.4% contamination, and a low of 9.3%. In our agreement with Waste Management allows for a 10% tolerance. The contamination consists of plastic bags and plastic wrappings, styrofoam, hangers, black takeout food containers and trays, wires, medicine bottles, toys, cooking pans, and plastic egg cartons. All of these items belong in the trash. Due to this high contamination rate, the town of Acushnet is being charged an additional 8.2% of our monthly inbound tonnage at a rate of $225 per ton. On average, this will be an additional $1,850 per month contamination fee. We are asking that all residents pay close attention to what they are putting in their recycling bins. And in this mailing, they included a flyer that shows what can and cannot be put into the recycling bin. Please do not put any plastic bags and wrappings, cartons, toys, etc. into these bins, so we will achieve a contamination rate below 10%. These plastic items are 85% to 90% of the contamination. Recycling is great for the environment when done correctly. We appreciate everyone's efforts to recycle and thank you in advance for your help in achieving the contamination rate below 10%. If you have any questions or concerns, please call the DPW office. So plastic bags go back to a grocery store. They have a receptacle there to receive those kinds of items. So since we all like to be smart about money being spent and also recycling and taking care of our natural resources, let's heed the words from our director of our Department of Public Works. So back to the discussion agenda, wetlands bylaw. Mr. Valenti, I turn this over to you. I don't know if you have any comments, questions, or any
Let me go back to your initial topic there. Is the town doing anything to increase the awareness of those other than the letter?
Well, this letter went out to all Acushnet residents. I think that's pretty significant. Beyond that, I think you'd have to check with Mr. Menard on that initiative. But I know, but I made a decision as the chair of this commission to read this on air because maybe it'll reach a couple more folks and help us all reach.
Yeah, right. So is this the first time?
Asking for.
Or is this a history for the town, or is this a first?
I don't know. This is the first time I've seen a letter like this. And I'll add that in the envelope was this item as well, showing what can be and what cannot be.
Yeah.
I'm guessing everybody got that.
I didn't get it, so if you could save a copy for me, or just
Sure.
grab it myself.
It'll be in the
Yeah.
video files permanently. So do not recycle, no bag recyclables, no garbage, no plastic bags of plastic wrap, no food or liquid. Middle of that yuck icon. No clothing or linens, no hangers. So that's all wiring and whatnot.
Yeah, I didn't get that letter either, but I have gotten, a notice of what's acceptable to recycle and what's not.
Right. So if anybody does have questions, I strongly encourage you to check with our director of the DPW.
Yeah.
Or when you get back to the replay of the video, hit pause. All right. So Paul, do you want to talk about the discussions about wetlands bylaws?
Yeah, yeah. I was reviewing, all the literature that we've had in the past, and I tell you, the more I look at it, the more I'd like to keep it concise and more to the point than we were going in the direction in the past was almost getting to where Mary Lee had done, and it was very lengthy. I looked at yours from 2000 and what was that, 9, Mary Lee?
Oh,
So-
I don't remember what year it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was
probably
dated
around then,
2009. What's that? It looks. I think it was dated 2009, and that was a very lengthy bylaw. I can see how that could just. I don't know how many people would actually read the whole thing, even when they were applying for RDA or NOI. Using the Marion standards as a model. Was that ever?
Say that again, Paul? I didn't
No, I thought Everett was saying something.
Nope.
The Marion, what that the standards model is, I think, a good way to get our main points out there that we've mentioned some concern about. I don't know if that can be incorporated into a shorter bylaw, or if that would be the bylaw, or part of the bylaw. Because those are standards and bylaws. The bylaws are just the MCC, right? Based on that model. Either you're on mute, Bob, or your internet.
Yeah, Marion doesn't have a wetlands bylaw. They use the state guidance just like we do, but then they have their standards also.
Right. I like the standards. I think it's clear. I think it gets to the point, and it sends the message as far as the areas that we have the most concern on, and we're gonna be a little modify the bylaws based on those standards that we feel are critical to our town.
So my question / guidance then would be, since I know you're chairing this subcommittee, do you want to draft what those standards would be for discussion at our next meeting?
I can do that to review at the next meeting.
Yeah. Keeping in mind that these would all be very strong recommendations from the committee, but they don't necessarily have enforcement strength the way that bylaws do. So I know we're weighing the difference between setting standards and just us voting on them versus creating an entire bylaw and bringing it to town meeting and placing a little, in the balance between placing faith in our fellow Acushnet residents versus someone from outside of town swooping in with a major development project and trying to get away with stuff that, people who live in town probably wouldn't try to do. No.
And you're saying, Bob, that which one would hold up stronger against a developer?
Bylaws. And when towns create bylaws, from everything that I've read, it's because there are, the folks that are planning major developments don't live in town, have no real interest in the town. The town's natural resources, don't mean jack to them. So it's a way for a town, and we don't have much coastline. We don't have a major highway running through town. So our situation's a little different. But there are towns that have had to deal with major projects coming through, and the way that they protected themselves was to create a bylaw, which provides more strength than the state law does and is specific to that town's natural resources. Whereas what Marion chose to do was specific to their resources, but they also decided to place, they decided to place faith in their fellow residents and keep fingers crossed that if plans came through from forces outside of town, that they would abide by these strong recommendations. That's how I read this anyway.
Yeah, but that's not saying that it wouldn't hold up. It wouldn't be as strong.
It's probably easier to fight legally if they wanted to put the lawyer money into it. The benefit to the process for a town like ours and people, project proponents is, we make a decision, the appeal goes to DEP typically, unless it's some form of enforcement order, and that goes to Superior Court. Whereas a bylaw, typically when there's an appeal to a decision, it goes to both right away. It goes to both DEP and Superior Court. And the town also has to write out its decision saying this part of it is based on state law and this part of it's based on our own bylaws, if there's a split in the decision made.
You could incorporate the standards into the bylaws, right?
Yeah, and that's typically what a bylaw would be so it's one or the other. It's either going to be a bylaw or it's going to be standards bolstered by the state's by the DEP regulations.
But the regulations are not as stringent. So the bylaw is what gives it the weight when it's included in the bylaw.
And right now, this town, when I think about 100 other Massachusetts municipalities follow the DEP guidelines.
Without any additional restraints.
Standards or without any additional, right. We have our recommendations, things we typically ask for. And most of the time people are cool with that because, we're residents, they're residents, they want to be good neighbors and, we move things along.
It's like wearing a mask in public. Everybody's doing it. You got to do it.
What is this commission trying to do?
Well, at this point, we're trying to decide what's better for the town. The standards or the bylaws.
Oh, so and we're thinking bylaws are stronger.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
They are. It leads to a different set of legal challenges, but.
But would you have standards as well, just to have our wishes, our town's wishes, have a few standards as well? Do we really need them for? This is what it was just talking about, but.
Well,
I'm sorry?
it seems like our options are three things. Leave it as is.
Right.
And just follow state DEP guidelines.
The bylaws.
Second option is to be similar to the town of Marion, follow DEP guidelines, but then have standards in town and have those written on and voted by the commission, which doesn't need to go to town meeting, or have bylaws, which are Acushnet resource specific, and we have to get it passed through town meeting.
Oh, which we don't.
And the other benefit is, right, the other benefit to a bylaw is we can set different fees than what our standard fees with the state.
Okay.
Marilee, is that accurate? That sound right to you? The fee part of it, we can set fees for extra things, I think, with a bylaw.
I believe a bylaw will give you the authority to set fees and fines as
Mhm.
well.
Well, right now we have fees and fines, correct?
We have fees, we have no
Fees.
fines.
We don't have any fines.
Mm.
I mean,
So-
I've been leaning towards the bylaws for the most part of this whole
Mhm.
project. It's just, they just seem very lengthy.
I think most of them are boilerplate. It's just certain things have to be specific to our town's resources. And that would, and then including in what fines would be.
Yeah, I did notice that that was started at the other bylaw with Mary Lee there, but in the past,
Right.
they were starting to do the fine structure, but it wasn't
Mhm.
on there. I'm sure that the fee structure is already established.
I would say so. So what do you figure, Paul? Have we hit a point where we need to do a little more homework?
That seems to be the point we always end up on.
But we're further along in the process, and I think for our next meeting, maybe there's a draft of potential bylaw and fines, and then we discuss it then, which means there's a little homework to do in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I just have a couple of questions. Mary Lee, so in the past, you submit a cease and desist order, and that's it. It's just a mere, okay, let's get the engineers back together and talk about what went wrong, and then that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Is there a need to be more aggressive than that?
Well, we took one case to court, but it took forever and it didn't really end up the way that we had hoped it would. You know, I mean, they haven't touched that property, so in that case, I guess we won. But the court case just went on and on and on, and I don't know. It wasn't very satisfactory. I didn't think.
Did it go on and on and on because we didn't have bylaws?
Well, a bylaw certainly would have sped things up, I think, yeah.
All right.
You know, and if it turns out that in 2 weeks, we don't have anything to discuss on the topic, or we're still drafting items up, that's fine.
Yeah, so what I'll do is in the next couple of weeks, I'll draft a bylaw.
Mhm.
I mean, the standard one is easy if we don't go through with the bylaw.
Right. Yeah, and if it wasn't the last meeting, the previous meeting, we went through the first sections 1 and 2, and we agreed that, you know, the language there was pretty simple. We didn't really need to change anything, and section 3 may be the same way. You know, but the two of us can have a conversation without breaking open meetings laws. So if you
Yeah, I was almost going to call you today 'cause I wasn't sure how long I'm going to be on.
yeah,
You have the knowledge in case, you know, I have questions.
yeah. So the two of us can have a conversation offline.
I mean, the Marion standards, they really hit the same topics that's driving, or at least that started this, you know,
Sure.
those 4 points we've discussed already about,
Yeah.
you know, being some of the issues that we have concerns with.
Yeah, but I think the other thing that is of interest to us is the ability to levy fines if, you know, somebody does, you know, does something just stupid or damaging.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Anything
that
bad
does
thing
get
for the
people's
town's
attention.
resources.
It does get people's attention more.
Sure. You know, and none of us want to go there. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
we all live in town, but every once in a while you might get someone who just doesn't care. And is, you know, puts on the blinders and charges forward. So it's good to have the law on our side.
and Bob, you would keep that model more or less the way it is, just carve it out to mainly more specific to the Acushnet's resources.
Sure, and that's what all towns do.
So you really couldn't cut it down too much.
Correct. Yeah. It's gonna be 7 or 8 or 9 pages, but a lot of it's, of the 9 pages, you might have a page and a half worth of language that's town specific.
Right.
Some of it's just other words that have to be there. All right, so shall we,
I'll have a draft by the. I've been a little bit slacking myself. I'll have a draft by the next November 24th meeting.
and if you want to talk within the next 2 weeks, we can do that. All right. Okay, any other comments or questions about this wetlands bylaw topic? If not, Ryan, if you're okay, I will turn the floor to you on conservation. I know we.
Oh, I lost you, Bob. All right.
We can hear you.
All right, good. Well, I had sent an email out to the commission back on October 15th, and it was in the Standard Times, and it said that there was a major problem in Bristol County. We lead the state in deer strikes, vehicle to deer strikes. So I forwarded that to everybody. And I just think it's something that we should discuss, because currently I feel like we are contributing to that problem by not allowing hunting on Acushnet town land, conservation and selectmen owned land. So I was just curious on what the commission feels about hunting on conservation land and why we currently cannot do that.
I apologize. I lost about a minute of that as my internet cut out, but I'm back. But I have a pretty good idea of what Ryan just discussed while I was floating in the ether. In looking at Mass General laws, and the old argument was that somebody from town's governance a few years back had said, we can't do this because of liability. It turns out that's not accurate. And I found two examples today referring to Mass General Laws, Chapter 21, Section
17C.
Stating that the town does not have any liability for hunting on conservation land as long as certain guidelines are followed. Ryan would know those better than I, especially in terms of bow hunting. And legally, there really isn't any reason why there can't be hunting on conservation land. This, from everything that I've read, and I've looked at this, and I also read a legal opinion on this today, and I know I sent that to Ryan. So anyway, that's my feedback based on what I've read. I welcome comments from other members of the commission.
I always thought that hunting was permitted on any publicly owned land. And after I got on conservation at some time, I think we were out on Lanton Lane where the Murphy tract is. And I was told, oh no, you can't hunt there. I'm not a hunter. I don't believe in trophy hunting. I believe in sustenance hunting. That's fine with me. And I don't understand why we don't follow state general laws as far as allowing hunting on open space property in our town.
Thank you, Robert. Heidi or Paul?
I'm not a hunter either, but I do live near conservation land, and I think there is hunting on that property already. Because I hear a lot of shots and stuff going on down there. I'm not sure. I don't have an opinion yet. I don't know. I don't have enough information about it. How much conservation is there in town?
There's a lot.
Yeah, we own several parcels.
There's a couple tracks that are good size. That, 85 acres or more.
Ryan, would you speak a little bit to setbacks, like was it 150 feet from paved surface and 500 from dwellings and other things
Right.
like that?
So in order to get your hunting license, you have to take a hunter safety course. Everybody, it's set forth by Mass Wildlife. In order to get your license, you have to take a safety course. If you have a firearm license, you have to take a firearm safety course. And Mass General Law basically is the same for bow hunting and shotgun and muzzleloader. You have to be 150 feet from a paved road and 500 feet from an occupied dwelling. So, and I'm not sure if it's more from a school. It could be more from a school, but I think it's pretty much that. But, in that case, most hunters hunt from a tree stand 30 feet up, 20 feet up, and they're pretty much good based on our woods because, it's a lot of hardwoods and a lot of, growth that you can only really see 30 to 40 yards in front of you. So if you look at the trajectory from 20 feet up in a tree to 40 yards out, you're pretty much aiming down anyways, But those are the standards for the state is 150 feet from a road and 500 feet from a dwelling. And every property that the town has for conservation is well within those standards, and then it's basically upon the individual to follow the state law, and that's pretty much what hunters do because we appreciate the woods just as much as anybody else does. It's, it's a passion. It's something that, we all cherish every year. So we don't want to ruin it for ourselves,
And there is certainly a benefit from hunters feeling like they're doing it legally as opposed to people sneaking in and shooting. 'Cause I think it's just safer if it's codified or written down that yes, you can hunt on our conservation land, and people that do that,
Right.
if they know that it's a legal thing, I feel better about those people doing it than someone trying to sneak out there and hunt because they feel like they have to.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. I've walked most of these properties. I found tree stands. I found blinds. And, people are hunting it right now anyways. Me personally, I'm not because I'm aware of the rules and I just want to make it a level playing field for everybody. I think hunters really police themselves. If people are baiting, they contact the environmental police and put it out there. Hunters all want the same level playing field. It's not ethical to bait deer. It's not ethical to hunt where you're not supposed to. So I'd say about 99% of the hunters don't do that, and I feel like hunters police themselves and, encourage it. And it's a heritage thing that it's been going on for generations, and it's almost a dying sport. Not necessarily recreation, it's not, there ain't too many people that hunt, but the people that do should be able to enjoy open space just as much as anybody else does, and I'm looking at the open space in town. If you look at the parcels, most of them say that they don't even have trails on them, for the public.
Yeah, and it's a limited season too, so it's not like it's a year round.
Right. It's 3 months out of the year. It goes from roughly the first week of October. They've actually extended it because the population of deer is so high in our zone. And we're in zone 11, and for the past 3 years they've extended it to two additional weeks in our zone because of the population of deer.
And the lack of natural predators.
Right.
So right now, what is stopping the hunters from hunting on the conservation land?
Technically, nothing, although there's this implicit understanding that there isn't any hunting on conservation land based on feedback that came from a couple of town administrators previous. But I don't know that we as a commission have ever said, I mean, in my time on the commission, I don't ever remember us even discussing this topic, to be honest.
I have a comment to make about
Go for it.
hunting of deer.
Yeah.
Right, we have a big public health problem. It's called Lyme disease.
Mm-hmm.
And white-tailed deer are the major carrier of the ticks that give you Lyme disease. And I know some people have had it, and it's kind of nasty.
That is a
Yep.
concern.
What's the point, Everett?
Lyme disease.
Yeah, I know.
Deer are carriers.
Carriers of
They have a ticks.
I'm going to have to sign off in like 2 minutes, so this conversation can carry on. Everett would have to lead it as the vice chair. I don't know if we're ready to take a vote on this or if you want to bring it up at the next meeting, but I don't know what are people's
I think
feelings
it
on this.
should really be extended to the next meeting, and it's not going to happen this year anyway. I mean, it's too late for this year. I think it's
Is
going
it too
to
late
take.
for this year, Ryan?
We got until December 31st.
Yeah,
to
but
hunt.
how about getting it out to the town, through the town, making sure it's okey dokey. I know deer season doesn't end now. It's just it's been something that people expect. There's no hunting like on Lane area, back at Murphy's Park, whatever they call it. People don't think there's hunting there. I think it's something that's going to probably take a citizens initiative at a town meeting to get it allowed. I just, I'm not anti-hunting. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, sunset hunting is great. And it does control population of deer. And I know they do a lot of damage to a lot of crops and stuff. So I just think we need to discuss this longer.
I agree, because there are a lot of issues that I have concerns with. Access is one, and how is it limited to just town residents, or is it beyond? And what responsibilities does a town have in maintaining or at least monitoring these areas?
So Ryan, I want to ask you to write up your recommendations. As a courtesy, we'll run it by town council. I'd like to discuss this at the next meeting. And Everett's point that if we're going to make it clear what the process is going to be on town-owned land, we should let residents know. But this is a good next step in this discussion.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
I think at some point you're gonna need to involve the selectmen.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
That's why I said town meeting citizens initiative petition, something like that to get it as public record.
we'll have
Yeah.
time to educate too more
Yep.
other people.
Yeah, good idea. Okay. So Ryan, we'll look forward to some recommendations from you.
All right, sounds good. I'll get on it.
Thank you. Merrill, or anybody else, any other business for the commission? I hate to push this along, but I do have to get to my next Zoom appointment.
No, but I wanted to remind you all the town meeting is Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's a number of articles, I think, going through.
Oh, I'll be away this weekend. I won't be able to make it, but
Ready to get that. Okay.
I'm in Maine.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
We have a second.
I'll
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. So motion from Everett, second from Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Have a nice evening and